Hello and welcome to your weekly scoop from the ice cream tub of electric cars, brought to you by the team at electrifying.com. On the podcast this week, the people's car is coming back, April foolishness, and the Leaf is leaving. This week you're stuck with me and Vic, I'm afraid. But, I don't think we've done one together. I don't think we've been left alone to do one before, have
No,
we?
I don't think we've been left unsupervised in charge of the podcast. What could possibly happen?
What have you been up to? Anything interesting? Keeping warm?
Yes, keeping warm. So this week I've had a sort of a bit of a laptop week. So I've been mostly just churning out lots of copy and doing a lot of stuff. I've been, keeping an eye on what's going on Electrifying. I was very interested to see Nikki's stuff about the Zeekr. What else? There's been all kinds of stuff going on. BYD Atto 2. I did drive the JQ 7 plug-in hybrid recently, so we can chat about all of that. So there's
I'm interested to know about that.
Interesting things going on. That's what I've been up to, really. What about you?
Now, more importantly than that, have you had the electrifying lurgy yet?
I feel like I'm getting it. And I sort of got that. I sort of woke up this morning with that really headachy, slightly throaty kind of like feeling.
So just to explain to everybody, Ginny had a sort of cough and cold and general fluiness a couple of weeks ago, and then gradually everybody else on the team got it. So I'm just going over the other side.
There you go.
There's the
That's
cough.
it.
I've had a sore throat. My glands are still out a bit, but it's been horrible. And poor Nicola and Manos had to go out on a launch for the BYD Atto 2 and do it. Although Nicola still managed to sing. Now, if you haven't seen that video yet, the BYD Atto 2 has a karaoke function. And she was really quite excited. I think more excited I've ever seen her for any other feature on any car, to be able to go on this launch and show her singing abilities. Now, she was irritatingly good at it.
Yeah, I thought that too. I thought that, yeah, you can see the drama school, can't you? It comes through. Yeah. I'm just jealous. I'd love to be able to sing. But that video was fabulous. I really enjoyed it. It was so funny. So yeah, they both did a great job, despite the electrifying lurgy. So it's definitely one to check out.
Yeah. And quite a surprising car as well. I think when she went out on that launch and we were doing the specs and things, we all expected it to be a kind of Vauxhall Frontera arrival. But of course, the Vauxhall Frontera is 22 grand, isn't it? And this is 30. Yeah. So there is some crossover, but I think it's a bit above that, isn't it?
I think it's above that. I think you're talking Kia EV3. I think your EV3, MG4, that kind of thing. So 30 to 35,000 pound, even low end ID3. I think by the time you're taking discounts on ID3, and it's more that size. It's 4.3 meters long, the Atto 3. So it's a bit more kind of sort of compact family hatchback rather than your C3 Air Crosses and that kind of thing. But there is a lot of crossover there in those categories now, because if you're looking C3s and your the Renault 4 coming out, that kind of thing, they've all got sort of 200 miles, 250 miles of range, haven't they? So if you're looking for a 4 or 5 seat family car with a 200 mile range, then I think there's going to be quite a lot of buyers looking at both of those classes. Yeah, so it'd be interesting to see. Yep. And I think a lot of people have said this about BYD. Is coming to the UK, they've expected BYD to be a real budget option, but BYD have always said right from the off that they're not doing that they are going to be selling cars. They're really aiming for kind of Kia Hyundai territory, aren't they? Yeah. And so they've kind of they've said that, and that's what they've stuck to. So so the Atto 2 is very much above the Dolphin and below the Atto 3, which makes no sense to lots of people, I'm sure, but you know what I mean.
Yeah, so, Well, she really liked it, so I'm looking forward to having a go in that. But if you do, if you do want a cheap car, there's been some interesting news this week that Volkswagen has revealed an official picture of the ID.1, and they did this. If you have a look on the website, it's at the moment it's on the homepage. I don't know if it still will be by the time you listen to this, but they revealed one of those pictures as a teaser, which is like the car in a studio, and it's very dark, and you can just see a few of the features. But Mike and I had a play around in Photoshop, Mike more than me, and just lightened it. You just change the exposure, which everybody does on their filters these days, and you can see much more. And it's much more revealing of what the car's going to look like. I think we're going to see it fully in March when they pull the wraps off, at least a concept of it. But it looks quite you can see kind of the heritage of like a Mark 1 Golf or the very earliest Polos and things in there. It's a very not plain. Plain's not the right word because it's quite handsome, but it's not controversial. It's a very Volkswagen-y Volkswagen, I think. So it's going to be under £17,000, they say, for an electric car from Volkswagen. So take that, China, I suppose.
Yeah, it's quite interesting, isn't it? I think it's I do think it's I don't know. I certainly hope that it's £17,000 or less. What worries me is that we still haven't seen the ID.2, and that was revealed how many years ago now? And we've all been going, when's the ID.2 coming out? So I'm all for the ID.1, I really am, but I just hope that they turn it around a bit quicker, because otherwise it's going to look a bit kind of, a little bit late, maybe.
And talking of Chinese cars, Zeekr. So Nikki went out and had a poke around the Zeekr, and that video's on our channel now. Very interesting, wasn't it? I mean, I drove a Zeekr last year, which was kind of an EX30, because it's the same company, Geely, that does Volvo and Lotus and all the others. A Volvo EX30, except a bit longer, and had a really lovely interior. Quite liked it in the same way that I quite like the EX30. I think the two-wheel drive version is much better. But this is a bigger car. But you wrote the article, so you probably know more about it than me. I just watched the video and was marvelling at the self-closing doors.
Yes. It is quite sort of, they're clearly going for, a lot of equipment and quite kind of classy finish for really good value. So the prices up on our review at the moment are actually just conversions from European pricing. So they're kind of estimates. But yeah, if they can get it in that kind of price, well, I think it might do quite well, because I have to say it does look quite smart. It's very much a Model Y rival, the Zeekr. So it's very much targeted at that kind of thing. It's sort of 4.8 meters long, 5-seat, so there's no 7-seater that I know of so far anyway. And it will be interesting to see how they do, because as you say, if you actually look around the Zeekrs, the interior finish tends to be pretty good. They do feel quite sort of, decent products. We'll see. I think it's not here till 2026 in the UK. So it's one of those where we'll have to wait and see what the final specs are and the range and this kind of thing. But so, from what we've seen, from what Nikki saw in that vid, it could be quite good, actually. I'm quite impressed.
Now, slightly sooner than that is April. Now, April's going to bring some changes to the electric car world. And the first is that we'll have to pay road tax on electric vehicles.
Yes.
And it's a kind of reminder, because I think we've mentioned it before, but if you currently have an electric car, you should be cancelling your road tax in March and then immediately retaxing it again, which you can do online. It's quite an easy thing to do, because then you get 12 months. So in theory, if you've had a car that's registered after April the 1st, 2017, I think, your road tax is now going to be 195 quid a year, which is a bit of a bummer if you're used to it being £0 and 0 pence. So you can save yourself a year's road tax by stopping it and starting it again in March, which is worth having.
Yeah, that's a good hack, isn't it? What would you do then? Would you actually sort of sawn the vehicle for a few minutes, which is really easy to do, and then literally retax it?
Retax it, yeah.
Yeah. So I think that would be best, isn't it? It's literally go through the government website and go through the sawn option, and then retax it straight away, which I do, because I do that on my old Mercedes every year, and it takes a few minutes, so it is easy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There'll be all the overseas listeners wondering what this madness is.
Yeah.
But there's also, I mean, the luxury tax we know is going to come back on electric, or it's going to be applied to electric cars as well as everything else. So everything over £40,000. Now, the government did say in the budget, we're looking at that because we don't think it works and we're consulting people, but they haven't done anything about it yet. And I know there are people who are ordering cars for leases now, including my brother, and they're making decisions based on the fact that this £40,000 luxury car tax is going to be applied to electric cars. So if the government's going to do something, they need to do it now, really.
Yeah.
Because people are already taking action, including a Bath, who are the first manufacturer who have a car which is just over the £40,000 threshold, who are now saying, actually, we'll knock off a few quid and make it below £40,000.
Yeah.
And I expect that there will be plenty more if that doesn't happen. So there are cars like I was looking at Vauxhall Grandland prices, and the top spec Grandland's 40,650. And there are a couple of other cars, EV3, for example, whether it's just over and you think, well, no one's going to buy it, or they're not going to have metallic paint or something like that.
Yeah, I know. It's frustrating, isn't it? It's just not. It's not what a premium car costs anymore. Surely we have to sort of reevaluate what premium means. And it's not a high spec Grandland, is it? I don't think it's probably what we'd say today. It's frustrating, but as you say, it needs to be sorted out sooner rather than later. That's the problem.
Yeah. But if you are thinking about buying an electric car that's going to be over £40,000, do it now. Or if you are ordering one and you think it might just slip over, and your dealer's saying, "Oh, it's delayed a few weeks," then I don't know, slap some number plates while it's still coming down the production line or something, so you get it before April the 1st. Otherwise, you might find yourself £2,000 worse off over 6 years, which would be a proper bummer, wouldn't it?
Yes.
Would you like a bargain? A Barnard's bargain?
I would love a bargain. Yes, please. I've been wondering what you're going to throw at me for this one. Is it a Volkswagen ID.7?
It's not a Volkswagen ID.7, although those are still quite cheap.
Well, I'm disappointed.
What do you think of E3008?
Yeah. That's It's it's all right.
3008 Allure with the 73 kilowatt hour battery.
Yeah.
£278 a month.
Oh, that is quite a lot of car for the money, isn't it? That is cheap.
That is a lot of car for the money.
Yeah, because the Allure, I know that's I know that's the entry level one, but there's still loads of kit on those, isn't there?
Yeah.
That's the thing. A nice interior. It's just since Nick's been running a long-term one, and she's found the real world range to be really quite poor, so that would put me off a bit. So do check that out if you're thinking about going for that deal. But still, that is a properly posh feeling car for not much money, isn't it? Big too.
We need to.
So
we need to have
good money.
We need to have a conversation about real world range in a bit as well.
Ooh, okay.
There's been some hassle, but we'll get to that in a bit.
Okay.
The other news on the bargains is that I've come to the decision that I'm going to have to sell my Leaf.
What? Why?
I know.
Surely not.
I know. Well, my son's passed his driving test, and we have found out. We were having a discussion a few weeks ago about electric car insurance.
Yeah, for learners especially. Yeah.
He's dead keen to have an electric car, and we thought, well, he can have the Leaf. It's fine. It's worth perhaps £3,000. So we thought, right, okay, that's fine. What insurance group is a Leaf? Can you have a guess? Our 2015 Leaf.
Oh gosh, 24.
Yeah, well, very good. 25. And
now there's somebody that looks at insurance groups far too often.
Yeah. And I mean, he's a 17-year-old. There's no way you're going to insure him on a Group 25 car. It's it's the same as like a Boxster. So it's
crazy, isn't it?
It's going to say no. So he's going to have to drive something petrol for a while that's below Group 10 until such day as he can have an electric car. I looked at Zoe's and things, and they're pretty much the same. Even like a Dacia Spring is high. Yeah.
Somebody around me owns a Dacia Spring. I've seen it a few times now. I've seen it buzzing around. It's quite cool in white, of course. So base spec, really good. I like it. It's I'm quite enjoying seeing it. It's such a tiny, tiny little thing. So yeah, I've really enjoyed seeing that around. But yeah, it's so frustrating that it's so difficult to get a learner driver into an electric car for the insurance purposes. It's just kind of mad. But
especially the cheap. I mean, they will come. They will come, I'm sure, and the insurance companies will look at it and go, "Okay, these electric cars are fine." But it's a real shame.
You would have thought they might have done that by now, though. I mean, how many electric cars are there on the road now? They're sort of pushing. It's nearly 2 million in the UK, isn't it? I think.
Yeah.
So let's hope that changes soon as well. Here we go.
Yeah, so it's going to have to go
today.
Yeah, but I'm going. This weekend's task is this.
Oh my goodness. Okay. So, dear listener, if you're just listening to this on the podcast, I know as much as you, because Tom's just waved this kind of strange clear plastic thing around in front of the camera.
Clear plastic thing with a little electronic gubbins at the top. So I got in the Leaf and was driving, and the touch screen doesn't work.
Oh no.
And of course, the thing I love about YouTube is that you go onto Google and you put in, touchscreen not working, and then there's a video, and there's somebody who's had like 60 watches of a video of him fixing this on his Leaf. And he says, what you need to do is do this, and you take these screws out, and you do it, unload it, and then you put in this screen, which you can find on AliExpress for £7.99 delivered to your door. This is how you do it. So, or you can spend £500 on a used unit, or £2,800 getting a brand new infotainment unit from Nissan. And I thought, no, well, I'm going to try the $7.99 option from AliExpress. And, a week later, it arrives from China. So I'm going to be taking the dashboard to pieces on the Leaf this weekend.
Wow. Good luck.
Thanks.
Yeah. Especially just before you sell it. If you're going to have to sell it in bits instead, just sort of parts it, right? A black bin bag full of dash parts and kind of see what you can get for it.
It'll be fine. All the values in the battery.
Yeah. Just take some really blurry pictures of it and kind of, It'll be
but if anybody wants a Leaf, it's probably Britain's most famous used Leaf.
It's in bits on your driveway, right? Excellent. Well, good luck. Hopefully it'll work.
Thank you. Should we have a look at some other people's car buying questions rather than my car selling questions?
Yeah.
So the first one is from Ian Braithwaite, who Ginny and I gave him some advice on his wife needed a car to carry around trumpets, which I do remember.
Don't we all, I think.
Yeah. And she had some very specific needs of wanting an electric tailgate and electric seats. And he says, thank you for your advice. I've done some more reading. The Mazda looks perfect, but the electric boot is essential, unfortunately. This is one of those rare situations, Vicky, where one of the cars we recommended was a Mazda MX-30. There aren't many car buying questions that end with a Mazda MX-30, but this was one of them.
That's true. And there aren't many that end with I must have a powered boot lid, which personally I really hate. I've yet to meet a powered tail. Yeah, I don't like them. I've yet to meet an electric, I want to call it a tailgate because I read too much American stuff. A boot lid, an electric boot lid that I didn't wish was just a manual one. Honda did one years ago, which was powered, but they'd set it up so that you could override it really easily. So you could shut it manually really easily if you wanted to. And I liked that. But generally, I just find them too slow and too annoying. So I'm sorry. I know I'm in the minority, but I don't like a powered boot lid. I'll live with it, but I don't like it.
Well, dear listeners, please tell us which side of the fence you are, because I love a powered boot lid. While the Astra was broken, I had a Corsa, and that didn't have a powered boot lid, and I missed it.
And also because did you have to lift that boot yourself and then shut it yourself?
I'll tell you what it was in this weather when the tailgate there is filthy. Yeah. And you see all the marks on people, or you have to, and you got dirty hands when you're just about to go out, and the power tailgate gets rid of that. That's
what dark jeans are for. I find that's the.
Can I tell you an amusing story that doesn't revolve around electric cars, but it is.
Go on.
When I worked for Vauxhall, which was many years ago, we had to put an order through to the factory in Germany for a Vectra estate. And we said, look, we need a special order Vectra estate. It's got to be the elite trim in green with tan leather, but we don't want the powered tailgate. And they said, oh, I'm sorry, that's not possible. We can't do these sort of special orders, just delete things. It's the way the production line works, and we can't do. Look, it's a very special customer, and we'd be very grateful if you could just do this once for us. No, I'm absolutely sorry. There's no way we can do this for you. I'm really sorry. You'll just have to have the powered tailgate, and maybe you can do something with the fuel. And we're like, no, that's not suitable. We said, right, okay. This special customer, yes, she needs to get rid of the powered tailgate because she finds her corgis escape when she's slamming the boot lid. If she's got the electric. And they went, okay, we will be happy to fulfill this request.
Yes. Suddenly we can do one without the powered boot lid. In green with tan leather, of course. Yeah. Oh my God, amazing. That's so cool.
So somewhere in Britain there is the only Vectra elite estate without a powered tailgate.
I hope it's still around. I mean, I'm with her as well. I think the Queen was right on this one. One of the reasons I don't like a powered boot lid is because if you've got a dog and you hit the shut thing, and then by the time the boot's shut, the dog's moved around and stuffed its tail out the boot, and then you've got a vet trip rather than a walk, and it's just such a, it's just one of those anxiety thing. You're like, come on, close quicker. Just annoys me. I've never liked a powered boot lid very much, but there you go.
Oh. Anyway, back to Ian Braithwaite and his
yes.
So Volvo EX30 looks great, but powered seats are only on the Ultra trim, which puts it over our budget. Similar with the EV3, we'd have to go up to the GT Line S to get the powered boot opening. So the smart one looks like a good fun option. Powered boot is standard. I've been to see it and we'll get a drive booked. Another option is the Fiat 600, which randomly has a powered boot as standard. Looks promising. I don't understand why we don't see many of them on the road. I haven't seen one yet on the road. Have you?
I've seen one or two, but not many. I think the 600's a pretty decent thing, actually. I quite like it. I have to say, I'm quite a big fan of the Smart One. I mean, I do think it actually is quite a decent car for the money. And I think I've not had a Smart One up sort of immediately next to a 600. I've not had them back to back, but I think the Smart might be slightly bigger. So it'd be interesting to see what Ian decides on that front. Which one can you get more trumpets in? That's what we need to know. So come back to us and tell us which one carries more trumpets. And because I'm quite intrigued now, because it's quite a good comparison, that I think. Because they're both sort of underdogs, aren't they? They're not the ones that probably get recommended most, but they're both decent cars. And I remember the Smart being quite decent handling and quite smart inside. But the Fiat, I thought quite cute, quite really well equipped, all of that. So both got things going for them. So let us know how you get on with that one, definitely. Yeah.
Now the next thing on the list, I'm approaching with some trepidation.
Okay, so look, let's talk about this. We've had a few comments from you lovely lot about Elon. We can't avoid talking about this, can we? Because it's everywhere at the moment. So we've had, we'll start with Mark Schaefer. I hope I'm pronouncing that right. Schaefer or Schaffer. Hello. First, understand that all legacy car companies have a shady past with their executives. Second, buying or not buying a car on other than safety, overall quality and innovation invites buying obviously inferior products, often out of misplaced loyalty to a national brand. Interesting. Third, the people who are being hurt are the employees who are working for a company that's successfully pushing for transitioning away from the deaths caused by burning fossil fuels. You should be educating people more and listening to their ignorance less. Interesting. Okay, so that's Mark's opinion. Now, contrary to that, we've had a message from at Alan Tov. Musk is a very dangerous man at this point. He is on a mission to use his platform and money to spread far-right ideology globally. I wouldn't fund him in any way. I hope channels think carefully about promoting Tesla at this point. Tesla need to offload him. And finally, making you can't really mince words with this one, at RobPainting2809, useful to know you're still going to support Tesla and its fascist owner, or whatever his role is, now blocking this channel. Well, thanks for that, Rob. So look, it's a really difficult thing to sort of talk about, really, isn't it? Because it is very, very obvious that we don't support any of the sort of political associations that went with Musk's behaviour at the presidential inauguration and all of that. I think it's really disgusting, and I think that he needs to think very carefully about how he behaves on a world stage. However, we are here to advise people on buying cars. And Teslas are not only some of the best-selling cars in the world, but they are real key benchmarks for all other electric cars. And Ginny and you and I, we have sat down and we've talked about this. And when I did that Model Y video, that happened, just after all of that kind of, came out as well. And it was really awkward. But I don't think we can ignore the cars. We can't sort of base it on that sort of political situation that's going on. And it's such a turbulent situation. I really think we have to sort of remove ourselves from that and just say, look, we're going to focus on the cars. We aren't in any way advocating what Elon says or does, and we never have. He has always been controversial, and he has often said rather foolish things, and we don't support that. But we will continue to review the cars, and we will continue to give you advice on them. And that does not mean that we are supporting any of the political agendas that might go with Elon and Trump and anybody else that's associated with any car manufacturer anywhere. There are an awful lot of political awkwardness around some of the Chinese manufacturers too. So should we stop reviewing those too? Where do we stop with this, really? Cars have always been political, haven't they? I think. And that's not something we can avoid. And I'm more than welcome for anybody to come, give us a message and let us know what you think, because it is a really difficult topic and it's a really difficult conversation, but we have to approach this as people who review cars and want to give you the advice. And I feel that cutting Tesla out would be the wrong move for us. And that's where we stand at the moment. But thank you for letting us know. And I'm sorry that Rob probably won't be hearing this because I think he's unfollowed. But there you go. So let us know what you think.
It is a very interesting situation, and you will personally feel something about whether the brand you align with it or not, but that will be a personal decision. And we're just here to say this car is a bigger boot, this car is faster, this car, and then you can make a decision based on your own politics or view of Elon or the world or whatever it is that you want to do.
Yes, precisely. So yeah, it's a really awkward situation at the moment, and I don't think he's doing the manufacturer any favours. In fact, you will be hearing more about this on Electrifying, but I'm currently running a used ex-Uber Tesla Model 3. It's got over 170,000 miles on it. I actually really, really like it. So it's not that old, but it's very high mileage, and there's lots to say about it and the range that I'm getting out of it. It's a really interesting car. But since I've had it, the only discussion I've had with anybody has been about whether I don't, mind the politics that goes with Elon. So that's kind of been something that's really coloured the experience of that car. And you can get bumper stickers now, can't you, that sort of say, I love my Tesla, but I don't love Elon, and that kind of thing. So maybe I need to get one of those. But anyway, keep your eyes peeled on the channel for more stuff about that as well, because we'll be talking about the high mileage Model 3 and the joys and some of the not joys of that. But in the meantime, what can we do but sit back and sort of see what Elon's going to do and focus more on the cars themselves as, objective purchases, really. So we'll see where it goes.
Should we have a less controversial?
Yes, let's move on.
So Barry Edwards 2765 says, help. I have a Zoe ZE50 for 4 years. He's had it. No off-street parking, but there are 2 times 22 kilowatt posts at the end of the road. And he now has 20 times 22 kilowatt nearby. If the Zoe has to go, do you know of any other small EVs that can charge at 22 kilowatts? I like to stay with the car while charging, normally for up to an hour, but I don't want to double that time at 11 kilowatts. And as a footnote from the last broadcast, I'm still insured with LV at aged 80 years.
Interesting.
Because there was another guy, I think, who'd realised that the insurance costs start to go up once you pass 75, I think. And he was refused from LV, I think. Anyway, so 22 kilowatt, I can't think of any.
No, I was just going to say the same thing. I've been racking my brains. I can't think of any apart from the Zoe. And that was one of the big things about the Zoe, wasn't it? That it had 22 kilowatt.
And that was because it didn't have DC charging, wasn't it? So they just put the money into the AC charger being beefier.
Did the i3 didn't have it either, did it?
I don't think it did, no.
There's a few out there now that have 11, like you say, but I don't think there are.
No. I wouldn't be surprised if it becomes more of an option on things. So like a Nissan Ariya has it, the Renault Scenic has 22 kilowatt. So the next generation of Nissans might have it.
The Renault 5 doesn't though, does it? That's what I was literally, as you were saying that.
Yeah.
Hold the phone caller. I'll consult. I don't think it does. I think it's got 11 kilowatt. Here we go. No, the Renault 5 can charge at 22 kilowatts apparently.
Oh, well, there you go. Perfect.
So this is after a brief Google.
5.
Yeah. Yep. No, 22 kilowatts apparently. I would like to do a bit more research on that, but yes, from a brief Google. I apologise for not knowing this off the top of my head because I've written a lot about the Renault 5, so you would have thought I'd have remembered that. But there you go. So the Renault 5 could be a good answer.
First right-hand drive ones have arrived, haven't they? And they're at dealers,
yes.
So you might see a few out on the road. Quite exciting.
Very exciting, yeah. Very exciting.
I know somebody who's got some very, very interesting cars indeed and could possibly afford lots of cars, and he's buying a Renault 5. So
yes,
just goes to show.
I know quite a few people who normally are on the sort of wait lists for, GT3 RSs and that sort of thing, and they've gone and bought a Renault 5 because they just really like them. That's what's intriguing me about it. It's really caught the attention of people who have been, until now, pretty sort of uninterested in electric cars. So it'd be interesting to see the sort of effect it has.
Yeah.
But there you go. And also 22 kilowatt charging. So go Renault. Good for them. That's really good.
While you've got Google up and some specs to look at, Steam Drive Nandy 6880 says, can we have more about the paucity of towing capabilities, please? Apart from going to Fantasyland pricing, there only seem to be two that can pull more than 1,500 kilograms. That's ridiculous. Quite possibly. I mean, it's difficult, isn't it? Because if you think about electric cars, they go absolutely for the efficiency. They get the weight down. They make the tyres small. They make the brakes small because of, they want to put regen on. And then if you want to have a towing capacity, you have to do all the testing with a trailer on the back at, say, 1,500 kilograms. So you have to make the brakes bigger. You have to make the tyres bigger. The motor has to be tall, which is all kind of, that might cost you a few miles of range or add to the cost. So it's a difficult thing for a manufacturer to do, isn't it? To say, we're going to go for a towing capacity.
It's, do you know what? I was thinking about this just the other day because I think electric cars. So I live in quite a rural area, and I cannot tell you the number of times I've had conversations with people normally who are wearing wellies and check shirts and things, and telling me that they would never go electric because they can't tow anything. And I think it's a real problem. And it is only now that we're starting to see quite a lot of cars coming out with 2.5 ton towing limits, but they are, they're only the really expensive stuff, things like the A6 e-tron, that kind of thing, Kia EV9, and that's great because it still means that in a few years' time, obviously some of these things are going to be much more accessible, and then suddenly you can get a long-range EV with a half-decent towing capacity. But until then, I have to say, I wouldn't buy an electric car if I towed regularly, if I towed something significant, a caravan or a horse box, because it's just really awkward, even though it's getting better, not only in terms of the towing capacities coming out, but in terms of charging bays and things. Because in a lot of the services now, you see oversized charging bays that they're called drive-through bays. So you can just pull right through and then drive out the other side when you finish charging. And they're there for not just for towing, but also commercial vehicles and disabled drivers. So I still worry that there aren't enough of them. I think we need a lot more of them. And I think we need to be able to filter more easily, because I really struggled even on Zap Maps. I couldn't figure out, I tried this the other day, interestingly, how to filter on Zap Map or any of the other apps, how to find towing appropriate charging bays. And I couldn't really seem to do it. If anybody knows better than me on that, because there's a number of apps out there, do shout, because I'd be interested to know. But basically, unfortunately, I'm with you. I think that the state of towing in an electric car, if you've got a caravan or a horse box and you need, 2 tons or more, realistically, is pretty bad. And I mean, you can't get anything that does 3 tons, which I've got a few horsey friends, and they all seem to want 3 tons. I don't know how big their horses are, but that seems to be a thing for them. So maybe they've got really big horses. I think it's just because you need that capacity, don't you? If you've got 2 horses in a big trailer or something. But it's a really awkward one. And it's one area that I think electric cars have been pretty poor, actually, until now. I think it's just one thing that hasn't been resolved. So here's hoping that what with them now coming out with decent towing capacities and longer range, I think the chances of finding a decent electric car to tow with as a used prospect in a few years will get a lot better. But for now, it's still a bit poor, really.
I did do some towing. I went to Germany and did some towing with a Genesis GV70 and a horse box which had a fake horse in the back to just have the weight. And it was very interesting. It towed very well, actually. It was quite stable. I did a video around it, but I think it was too tedious even for... I think Ginny just went...
This is too boring.
But maybe I should dust it off if there's actually some demand for it.
I want to see what the fake horse looks like. That's the thing. I want to see what the weighted horse in the back was. What's the towing limit on a GV70 then? Or can you remember?
I can't remember, but it was
Genesis, Hyundai, Kia are pretty good, aren't they?
Yeah.
Do you know what? That's another underdog car I haven't thought about for a while. The GV70 was great. I really liked that car. I wonder what they're worth used now. You have to look that up for a year. Come on, Google. I need to type quicker than this. Oh no, it's giving me American. £3,500. What's that? Oh, well, this makes for an excellent podcast, doesn't it? Me just tapping away. 1,800. That's not amazing, is it? 1,800 kilograms. So not amazing.
Well, it's probably
at the time
big, isn't it? Yeah, that's a big horse.
But it's not good enough, really, is it? It's not. But what if you've got 2 big horses, Tom? This is the problem I seem to be encountering. Yeah, well, there you go. But to be honest, I just agree with the comment. I think, yes, electric cars need to get better on that front. But at least it seems that they are. So give it a few years and we'll be in a better place.
Yeah.
I think.
Yeah, I wonder if I mean, there's all sorts of things like the trailers, or if you have a big caravan or something, it would have its own battery, which you could then use as like for a horse box or a caravan. If you've got your own power source to use when you get there and you don't have to plug in, it gives you off-grid capability, but it can also be used as a traction battery just to help out on those things.
Yeah.
And would also do its own regen. So maybe it's the trailers that are part of the problem rather than just the cars.
I'm sure I saw something about a trailer a few years back that somebody had done exactly that. So it had kind of regen braking system and a battery on board. So as you towed it along, it kind of charged its battery, and then exactly as you say, so it sort of was its own kind of generator and backup thing and all that. But then it adds weight, doesn't it? So it's a bit of a tricky situation. But as you said, the ironic thing is electric cars are brilliant for towing, apart from seemingly, and I've never really understood why they don't have a higher towing capacity. If I'm honest, because with 4-wheel drive, lots of torque, plenty of weight, you would have thought that they'd be really good for it. But there you go. So
anyway, we're over, so we should wrap it up.
Oh, excellent. I know. That's not bad though for the usual kilowatt half hour. Normally closer to an hour. We're only 37 minutes. That's not too bad.
I've also just noticed that the thing says I'm Mike Askew on the little caption thing, so that might.
I did notice that. Yeah.
Yeah, because I've had to log in as him because normally he drives these podcasts. So people are going to think I'm Mike Askew. Do you think that means I can get a mortgage and credit card in his name and stuff?
Yeah, I think so. Although you might need to put a really fluffy coat on in order to do that, and get some really brightly coloured shoes. Yeah, and a cravat, and grow by about 1.5 foot as well, or something like that. But other than that, I think you definitely could pass for Mike. Yeah, I reckon so.
I told Mike during the week that I liked his shirt, and I think he was disgusted that I liked one of his shirts. He's going to put it in the charity shop pile immediately. Yeah. Anyway, amazing. Right. So
it's been a pleasure.
Yes, it's been a pleasure, absolutely. So
as always.
Yes, let us know what you think about any of those. If you've towed with your electric car, let us know. And possibly, can we put Elon to bed now, so to speak?
Somebody needs to, I think.
So have a good week, and I'll see you next week.
See you later. Bye.